Question number one for the sisters. What was the question? Question.
For in what year was Abraham Lincoln elected to Congress? We have 1846.
All right. So the brothers, what is your question and what was your answer?
In what year was John F. Kennedy elected to Congress? We have 1946.
So each man was elected to Congress in 46 of their year. Is that your answer?
Yes.
All right. Next one. Sisters.
Yeah.
In what year was he elected president?
Who?
Abraham Lincoln.
Okay. And what year was Abraham Lincoln elected president?
1860.
Okay, men, what was your question and what was your answer?
In what year was John F. Kennedy elected president? We have 1960.
So they both were elected as president in 60 of the year that they were running for office.
It doesn't stop there.
Don't stop there. Let's keep going. Sisters, what was your next question?
You want to take that?
Tirza.
Oh, I didn't know I was responding. I thought we was the secretary.
Now, what was the question?
A part of this is about speed and efficacy, so if y'all could speed it up, please.
What major issue divided the nation during his presidency?
Yes.
Slavery.
Okay.
Oh, it's state rights over
Okay.
federal rights.
And brothers, what was your answer to question number 3?
Our answer was civil rights.
Rights, major issue dividing it. We'll skip down to question number 6. Where was Lincoln assassinated?
Ford Theater in Washington. Ford's Theater in Washington D.C.
He was assassinated at Ford's Theater. Brothers, what was your question?
We just have the city, Dallas.
Where was Kennedy assassinated?
Yeah, Dallas.
Dallas, Texas.
Dallas.
In the Lincoln Continental.
In the Lincoln.
Continental.
I don't know. On what day of the week was Lincoln killed?
Was it Friday?
Okay, brothers, on what day of the week was Kennedy killed? Huh. Who assassinated Lincoln? And what was the assassin's full name?
John Wilkes Booth.
John Wilkes Booth.
3 names.
Brothers, who assassinated Kennedy and what was his full name?
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
3 names.
3 names. What happened to Lincoln's assassin afterward?
He escaped to Virginia and then he was assassinated by the Union.
Killed by the Union.
He was assassinated. Brothers, what happened to Kennedy's assassin afterward?
Killed by Jack Ruby.
He was assassinated. Huh. Who succeeded Kennedy as president and what was the person's last name, brothers?
I'm sorry. Can they repeat what
We're not going back there.
I'm just trying to follow.
Catch on. Who succeeded Kennedy as president and what was the person's last name?
Lyndon B. Johnson.
Lyndon B. Johnson. Sisters, who succeeded Lincoln as president and what was the person's last name? So both were succeeded by president's last name, Johnson. Huh. Where was Kennedy seated when he was shot?
Kennedy was seated in the limo.
Seated in the Continental, the Lincoln Continental.
He was suicided. Wife and brother.
61.
He was sitting next to his wife, wasn't he? And where was Lincoln seated when he was shot?
Besides
His
white.
wife next to his wife.
So what we have here is some striking parallels between the two. Both elected to Congress in 46, both elected to the presidency in 60, both delivering major issues, both were assassinated by people with the same, assassinated with people by 3 names, first, middle, and last. I guess everybody got that, but both of the assassins were killed. And both of the assassins had what? John Wilkes Booth, and what was the other one name?
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Lee Harvey Oswald. Now, at some point, this begins to probably be more than a coincidence that these things ripple together. So with that thought, we're going to look at this study on, now keep that thought in mind. Like, is this more than a coincidence that all these things string together? And the name of the study we're going to look at is, Sukkot. 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 the sun, moon, and stars, and particularly we're looking at the lights of the heavens. We'll start in Genesis chapter 39. Genesis chapter 39, and we'll start at verse. Say it again. Genesis 39. Is it 39 I'm looking for? Yeah, Genesis 39. Actually, it's not 30. I'd like it 39. Oh, Genesis 37. I don't know why I'm 39. Genesis chapter 37, and we're going to look at this thing that happened with Joseph. Now, again, what we're trying to do is pay attention to the striking similarities of the activity we just did and the striking similarities of the way that this language is codified in the scriptures. Genesis chapter 37, and start at verse 3.
Okay, Genesis 37, starting at verse 3. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors.
Mm-hmm.
And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, he hated him. But they hated him, and could not speak peacefully unto him.
So they had this animosity going on. That's what I said earlier. Like the Bible is a book on parenting. There's a lot of other things too. But so now you got a father got to deal with the tension between the two of them, right? Verse 5.
And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren. They hated him yet more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we will be binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about and made obeisance to my sheaf.
So he tells them about this dream that he has. That Joseph has lots of dreams, and he explains this dream of these sheaves in the field, y'all sheaf, my sheaf, and then y'all start bowing down to me. Okay, verse 8.
And his brethren said to him, Shall thou indeed reign over us? Or thou indeed have dominion over us?
Now notice they clearly understood what the implication of this dream with the sheaves was. You little almost last one born, the youngest one, whichever, you go rule over us? That was the question. So they were clear about what the dream was interpreted to be. Verse 9.
And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it to his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him, and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the same.
So notice this. The second dream, it was the sun, the moon, and the stars. And the way that his father interpreted this dream was what? Shall me, your mother, and your brothers be ruled over by you? His brothers were upset about it, but his father paid close attention to it. So in this text, can anybody not see that the sun, the moon, and the stars are related to human beings? In this text here, like in parabolic form, dream form, whatever. Everybody clear on it?
Yes.
All right. And while we're going through this, one of the things I want you to think of is the way that sometimes we employ language in our own vernacular, particularly in the U.S. The people outside the U.S. are not doing that. I'm just talking about the way we use it in the U.S. What is the difference between Joe Schmo on a basketball team and LeBron James? What's the difference? What's the major difference?
His
Anybody?
diligence and his points. One's a star.
Say that again.
One's a what?
Star.
And one is a what?
Regular guy.
Yeah, one's a regular. Why do we call a man a star? And then a person like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, or Brett Favre, or I don't watch enough football, but whoever is great in football, Ben Roethlisberger or something. Is he great? Is he good?
Yeah.
He's done it.
I didn't like him.
Controversial.
what's the guy who was the quarterback who scored all these NFL touchdowns? Not Mahomes.
Tom Brady.
Brady, yeah.
Brady.
Brady.
Oh, yeah.
What do they call Brady? Because he's not just a star.
Oh, here you go.
He's like one of the greatest.
They may call him a guardian, but in terms of the Celestials, they call him a what? A superstar. Why do we employ such language with humans? Now notice what the text is laying out for us, right? Let's go to Job chapter 9. Now keep that thought in mind along with the striking coincidences that we did through the activity. This is Job chapter 9. Job chapter 9 and verse 1 when you get it. Job 9 and we'll look at verse 1.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Then Job answered and said, I know it is so of a truth, but how should man be just with God? If he will contend with him, he cannot answer him one of 1,000. He is wise in heart and mighty in strength, who hath hardened himself against him and hath prospered. Maybe I should have read out your question, sorry. Which removed the mountains, and they know not, which turneth them in his anger, which shaketh the earth out of her place, and the pillars thereof tremble.
So he's talking about the literal elements of the planet. Like he moves the mountains, the earth tremble. We also read this thing where mountains are synonymous with governments, but mountains are literal things, right? So here he's talking about move mountains, shake the earth, pillars thereof tremble. Verse 7.
Which commandeth the sun.
He commands the sun. This is the Almighty. He commands the sun, the literal sun. I'm not talking about metaphorically here. Go ahead.
And it rideth not, and sealeth up the stars.
Uh-huh.
Which alone spreadeth out the heavens, and treadeth upon the waters of the sea.
So he does all of this magnificent thing. He spread out the heavens, he plant the stars, he make it rise up and down, etc. Right? This is the power of the Creator. Move on to Job chapter 38. Now, you're talking about the literal elements in the celestials. This is not allegory. This is not metaphor. I'm talking about the literal elements in the celestials. Job chapter 38, and then pick it up at verse 12. Job 38 and verse 12.
Wilt thou believe him, that he will bring home thy seed and gather into thy barn?
Uh-huh.
Giveth thou the goodly wings unto the peacocks, or wings and feathers unto the ostrich, which leaveth her eggs in the earth, and warneth them in the dust, and forgetteth that the foot may crush them, or that the wild beasts may break them. She is hardened against her young ones, as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain without fear.
Mm-hmm.
But mighty one hath deprived her of wisdom, neither hath he imparted to her understanding. What time she lifted up herself on
You're
high.
in 38, right?
38:12?
Yeah, you're in 38, Job
Oh,
38.
that's 39, sorry.
I'm looking around like, I don't know what
My
We
bad.
got, we got.
Sorry about that. Job 38:12, sorry.
You can actually just start it at, start at 12.
Hast thou commanded the morning since thy days,
So
and
he's
caused,
commanded the morning since his days. Go ahead.
and caused the day spring to know its place,
All right.
that he might take hold of the ends of the earth, that the wicked might be shaken out of? It is turned as clay to the seal, and they stand as a garment. And from the wicked their light is withholden, and the high arm shall be broken.
So notice here the text is saying, from the wicked, their light is withholding. What light is this referencing? Well, he says in verse 12, he has commanded the morning since the days and caused the day spring to know its place. The day spring is generally concluded to be the sun. But he said the wicked in verse 15, from the wicked, their light is withholding. So the wicked are going to be dwelling in darkness. This is what the text is saying, right? Now, if you see something different, we can talk about it. All right, verse 16.
Hast thou entered into the springs of the sea, or hast thou walked in the search of the depth? Have the gates of the death been opened unto thee, or hast thou seen the doors of the shadow of death?
So here he's talking about death, he's talking about the wicked, and the wicked dwelling in darkness. So now notice this progression as we continue to go. Isaiah chapter 24. Isaiah chapter 24, to look at this progression. So the wicked is dwelling in darkness, and this is what the text is saying. But you can read in places like Psalms chapter 84, where it says Yahweh is the sun, and it uses the word S-U-N. Now, I don't literally think he's a son, but in his presence, if his face is shining upon you, at least with Moses and any kind of major person he interacted with, then it was this unapproachable light, so to speak. So this is Isaiah chapter 24, and then we'll start it at verse 20. Isaiah chapter 24. Now notice we just read in Job that the wicked dwell in darkness. So Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 20.
The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like the cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again.
Mm-hmm.
And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth.
So now he's talking about these kings of the earth being punished. Now the kings of the earth and many cultures are related to these celestial beings. They actually call the emperor of Japan the sun god, and they talk about the S-U-N. And the creator is saying here, yeah, the earth gonna move to and fro real like a drunkard, and it's gonna come to pass. I'm gonna punish the host and the high ones, the kings of the earth. So he's gonna punish these kings of the earth. In verse 22,
And they shall be gathered together as the prisoners are gathered into the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. And the moon shall be confounded, and the sun ashamed, when Yahweh of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion, and in Jerusalem, and before his ancients flourishing.
Now, this is one of the first times that this language is mentioned. The moon shall be confounded, the sun shall be ashamed, when Yahweh of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion. We can look at this as the future tense, and I'm going to keep that in this place, right? In the future. It's saying the moon is going to be ashamed or confounded, the sun going to be confounded when he reigns. But he's also saying that this is synonymous with, in verse 21, he's going to punish the high ones and the kings of the earth. All right, Matthew chapter 24. Notice the same language is being employed. Thank you. Matthew chapter 24, and then we're just going to pick it up at verse 24 through 29. Matthew 24, we're going to pick it up at 24 through 29. So he's talking about the sun and moon being confounded, and it seems to run parallel with the kings of the earth, which he's going to bring low and destroy. Now in this text, we're going to relate that to the future. But notice the striking coincidence that that language is employed multiple times, and it is not the future. Just like notice the coincidence with the 2 presidents in 2 years. So let's look at Matthew chapter 24. And we can, again, for sake of argument, we'll say that that's in the future, just for the sake of argument. Matthew 24 and in verse 24.
For there shall rise a false Christ and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not.
Mm-hmm.
For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even into the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from the heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken.
All right, so now it's employing this language again, and for the sake of argument, we're going to say this is in the future, just for the sake of argument, right? So immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun going to be dark, the moon not going to give her light, and the stars of heaven shall fall. Now keep in mind that this could potentially be a literal occurrence. Keep that in mind. But also keep in mind that Yosef said to his father and mother, and their response was, are me and your mother, being the government, because his parents were government, and your brothers be obedient to you? Well, look in the text as it lays out, he did become second in command in Egypt, and they were bowing down to him, right? They were subject to him. So let's go back to the prophets. Ecclesiastes chapter 12. Ecclesiastes chapter 12. Now the text in Matthew says the sun, moon, and stars is going to not give their light. They are going to be confounded. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, again, employing the same language. And notice when we read it here, it is not talking about necessarily a future dramatic event. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, and I think we'll start at verse 1.
Remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth.
So for all the young people, he's saying, remember the Creator when? Not when you get old. When? In the days of your youth, right? Seek him while you're young. Keep going.
While the evil days come not.
Now notice he's talking about these evil days, right? When Yeshua said in Matthew 24, after the tribulation, he describes the tribulation as gross evil. And here it's telling us, remember the Creator in the days of your youth, while the evil days are not come. Now notice what he talks about in more detail as these evil days. Keep going.
Know the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them.
Now he's saying, remember the Creator in the days of your youth and not the evil days. That is the comparison. Verse 2.
While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. In the day when the keeper of the house shall tremble, and the strong man shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they were few. And those that look out of the windows shall be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of Musik shall be brought low.
So when times is good, he's saying, remember the Creator. Because there's always not going to be good times, and he seems to compare that time where the sun, the light of the moon, and the stars be not darkened, right? This is the language that's on this. Now to warm up here in Isaiah chapter 34. Isaiah chapter 34. Isaiah chapter 34. And let's see what the prophet Isaiah has to say around that same time or that same language where he's talking about the evil days. Isaiah chapter 34. And when you get it, we'll start at verse 1. Isaiah 34 and verse 1.
Come near, you nations, to hear, and hearken, you people. Let the earth hear all that is therein, the world and all the things that come forth of it. For the indignation of Yahweh is upon all the nations, and his fury upon all their enemies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. The slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood.
All right.
And all the hosts of the heavens shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf fallen off the vine, and as a falling fig from a tree.
So now the language again in Isaiah is employing that all of the hosts of heaven gonna fall. Now this theme is repeated over and over and over again in the text. Now what we're getting ready to do is take it away from a future period of time, and we're gonna start to look at how it was employed with nations who are already fallen before. And when it happens with them, we have to ask the question, how many times the sun is gonna fall? How many times the moon gonna turn into blood or not give its light? Because it seems to be the striking coincidence that when a government falls or people who are in charge of government fall, then the sun is not giving its light. But then we'll look in some other texts and see that it's in the future, and we'll look at some other texts that it is obviously in the past, and we're getting ready to read some of those. So that was Isaiah chapter 34. Before we do this, let's go into Daniel chapter 8 and notice how there's this prophecy that's given, and this particular government is going to be stamped out by another government. And notice the language that it employs there. So we're going to go to Daniel chapter 8. Daniel chapter 8, and we're going to start it, let's say, at verse 4. Daniel chapter 8 and verse 4. Again, keep in mind, sun, moon, and stars. Keep in mind, Joseph with his parents and his siblings in a dream. And keep in mind that that language can also represent government, not just the literal devices in the sky. All right, Daniel chapter 8 and verse 4 when you get it.
I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand.
So he's given this prophecy of this goat that came, and this goat was ramming and crushing other goats. And then this particular goat was ramming westward, northward, southward, and no beast could stand before him, right? So the scriptures is using this goat and this ram's horn as a powerful, if you ever been hit by a goat, which I never have, that thing hits you at enough speed with them antlers, it's gonna cause some damage. And he's making a parallel to this kingdom that is rising up out of nowhere, and he's crushing every kingdom that comes before him. Verse 5.
And as it was considering, behold, and he goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran into him in a fury, and ran into him in the fury of his power.
So this goat is running to another goat in a fury of his power. Like he's getting ready to knock this goat, like I guess when people play football, you hit them so hard that they end way up over there. That's what's getting ready to happen here. Verse 7.
And I saw him come closer to the ram, and he was moved with choler, I guess, against him, and smote the ram, and break his two horns, and there was no power in the ram to stand before him.
Mm-hmm.
But he cast down to the ground and stomped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
Keep going.
Therefore the he ram waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and it came from up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of the heaven.
So if you study history, this is telling you the Greek Empire, Alexander the Great, crushed the empires that existed before him. And right after Alexander the Great crushed those empires, his kingdom split into multiple generals, but it all came down to 4. Cassander, Lysimachus, Ptolemy, and I forget the 4th one. And his kingdom split into 4. Now notice this, because this is important. That was verse 8, read verse 9 and 10.
And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceedingly great toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land.
Now, history should show you this should be the Seleucid kingdom, right? Verse 10. Now notice the language. We only went here to employ this language that's being used. What does verse 10 say?
And it waxed great even to the host of heaven.
It waxed great up into the host of heaven. Now, we're not talking about it couldn't get way up where the celestials, where the Almighty is. We're talking about the sun, moon, and stars. It waxed to the host of heaven and did what?
And it cast down some of the hosts of all the host and of the stars to the ground, and stomped upon them.
Now, if somebody gonna tell me that some goat flew up to the sky and cast down some literal stars, I'm gonna ask, what are you drinking? Right? Because that thing don't happen. But what are we pointing out? That the stars represent a government. And in this case, this government caused another government to fall. And I believe right here, this is talking about the Seleucid kingdom. So they began to be the greatest of the 4, causing the others to proceed before them to fall. But the way the Bible employs this language is, he cast down the stars of heaven. Does everybody see that? Let's say hallelujah. A couple more texts. That was Daniel chapter 8. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 13. Now notice in Isaiah is going to employ this same language, and the language that Isaiah is going to employ is something that is past tense. It is not something that is happening in the future. And Isaiah is really clear about marking it. Isaiah chapter 13, and we're going to look at verse 1, I believe. Isaiah chapter 13. And we will start at 1. We're going to skip down a little bit, but Isaiah chapter 13.
All right, the burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see.
Now, this particular Babylon was Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom. This was not future Babylon, like people call America or whatever else the Babylon in Revelations is talking about. This is the burden of Babylon that Isaiah did see. So this was Nebuchadnezzar's government, and his son and his son's sons, Nebuchadnezzar, etc., all his government. Keep going if you would.
Lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand, that they may go into the gates of the nobles. I have commanded my sanctified ones, I have also called my mighty ones for my anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. The noise of the multitude of the mountains, like the great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of the nations gathered together. Yahweh of hosts mustered the host of the battle. They come from a far country, from the end of the heaven, even Yahweh, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land.
So he's talking about this battle that's going to come against the king of Babylon. Keep going.
How ye, for the day of Yahweh is at hand, it shall come as a destruction from the Almighty.
So notice, if you would, the parallel between, like we just read in Ecclesiastes, the evil day was considered to be a gray of darkness, the sun and moon and stars. When this host and Daniel cast down the stars, it was an empire falling. In Matthew, the same language is employed, and we can, for the time being, relegate that to the future. Notice here it's talking about Babylon and the fall of Babylon. Keep going, if you would.
Therefore shall all the hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt. And they shall be afraid. Pains and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flames. Behold, the day of Yahweh cometh, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger, to lie the land desolate. He shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it.
So we're talking about destruction. Now notice verse 10 and 11.
From the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine.
So again, when this Babylon government falls, which is past tense, this is talking about Nebuchadnezzar and his Babylon, it says in verse 10, for the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall fall. And the sun shall be darkened in its going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. Is this a coincidence that every time that a government is falling, that it employs this language? Like, is that a coincidence? And it's almost like asking, is it a coincidence that these two presidents have so much striking similarities in common? I probably would think that. So notice here again, the sun, the moon, and the stars are falling. Verse 11.
I'm sorry. I will push the world. We're still in Isaiah 13, correct?
Yep.
I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogant and the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible.
Now notice, to make sure we know that this is not talking about a future kingdom, read verse 17.
Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regret silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it.
So who destroyed the Babylonian Empire? It was the Medes. Right after the Medes and the Persians came the Greeks. Right after the Greeks came the Romans. What is the point in going to this? When the Babylon fall, the sun fell out the sky. Proverbially, it was darkness. The stars did not give their light. The text is constantly employing this language over and over again. Notice this again in Jeremiah chapter 50, referring to the same situation or event. Jeremiah chapter 50. And we should be able to read verses 1 through 3.
The word that Yahweh spoke against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. Declare ye among the nations, and publish and set up a standard. Publish and conceal not. Say Babylon is taken, Baal is confounded, Meroch, how you pronounce it? Merodak is broken in pieces. Her idols are confounded. Her images are broken into pieces. For out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast.
So if you, again, this is a brief peer in the history, but the Medes came to crush the Babylonians. And the Bible articulates this crushing of the Babylonians as the sun, moon, and stars not giving their light and falling out the sky. The importance of it is because when we understand this biblical language, we can also see that every time it's used, it's not necessarily talking about something that's going to happen in the future, but it's a way that the text articulates this language. Ezekiel chapter 32, and then we got a few more texts after that. Ezekiel chapter 32. Notice what the prophet Ezekiel says about this same series of things happening. Ezekiel chapter 32. Now, when you read through Ezekiel, and he talks particularly about the kingdom of Egypt, he uses and employs different language. He tells Egypt or the Egyptians, like, you're a great whale in the sea, and I'm going to put my hook in your mouth and pull you out of the land. I'm going to beat you on the land, and all the fowls of the earth are going to come and eat of you. Egypt was not a whale, but it was a whale, and the Bible is employing this language again. So this is what, Ezekiel chapter 32? Yeah, Ezekiel chapter 32, and then we'll look at verse 1. Ezekiel 32 and verse 1. Now again, this is talking about Egypt.
And it came to pass in the 20th year, in the 20th month, in the first day of the month, that the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation for the Pharaoh king of Egypt, and say unto him, Thou art like a young lion of the nations, and thou art as a whale in the seas, and thou shalt cometh forth with thy rivers and thy troublous waters with thy feet, and foundest thy rivers.
So the Bible is using through the mouth of the prophet Ezekiel to call Pharaoh king of Egypt in that day a young lion. He also calls him a whale, and he also says that you foulest all of the waters, right? So you're just making trouble everywhere you go. Verse 2.
Thus saith Yahweh, I will therefore spread out my net over thee with a company of many people, and they shall bring thee up to my net.
So just like you would grab a whale, I'm going to spread out my net over thee, and I'm going to bring you out in my net, and I'm going to take you where I'm taking you. In verse 4, if you would.
Then will I leave thee upon the land, I will cast thee forth upon the open field, and will cause all the fowls of the heaven to remain upon thee, and I will fill the beasts of the whole earth with thee.
Now, what happens if you take a whale and put it on a beach? Is it going to live? And he's saying that's what I'm going to do to the Pharaoh king of Egypt. And everybody going to have a take of you and be able to eat off of all of that trouble and profit that you caused. So he's calling Pharaoh a whale. Notice verse 5.
And I will lay thy flesh upon the mountains, and fill the valleys with thy height. I will also water with thy blood the land therein thou swimmest, even to the mountains, and the rivers shall be full of thee.
Mm-hmm.
And when I shall put thee out,
When I shall put thee out, notice the language that is using. When I destroy you, when I cause destruction to come on your government, what shall happen?
I will cover the heaven, and make the stars thereof dark, and will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon shall not give her light.
How many times is the moon not going to give her light? I mean, is Yah up in the heavens just like flattening the light switch on and off with the sun? Cut the sun off, cut the sun on, cut the sun off. No, it's employing a biblical language that when a government falls, the sun, the moon, and the stars is dark. That's what the text is saying. Now, notice verse 8.
All the bright lights of the heaven will I make dark over thee, and set darkness upon thy land, saith Yahweh.
So he's going to beat you like a whale. You're going to be destroyed because whales can't survive on dry land. And then I'm going to turn around. Everybody going to eat of you. And I'm saying at the same time, the sun not going to give his light. Right? Verse 9.
I will also vex the hearts of many people, when I shall bring thy destruction upon the nations, and to the countries which thou hast not known. Ye will I make many people amazed at thee, and their kings shall be horribly afraid for thee, when I shall banish my sword before them, and they shall tremble at every moment, even every man for his own life in the day of thy fall.
Verse 11 will be the last verse we look at here.
For thus saith Yahweh, the sword of the king of Babylon shall come upon thee.
So here in this series we have, it's interesting because when we talk about, Yahweh or even Yeshua, we kind of employ the same language that he's King of Kings and like Lord of Lords. Mm-hmm. Egypt was in charge, just like that Babylon knocked him out the picture. And the sun gonna not give his life. Babylon was in charge, just like that, knocked them out the picture. The Persians is in charge. The Persians is in charge, then the Medes, maybe it's Medes first, then the Persians. Then the Greeks came, then the Romans came, and it employs the same language every time. Why is this even germane for us during the feast? Because it's governments that rule now. And sometimes if we don't look at the biblical language the right way, we may be expecting a thing to happen that's happening in the way that the Bible is employing its own language for. So I've come through schools of thought where people waiting for that disc in the sky to drop down and fall. Well, that's why we're gonna look at Amos, we're gonna look at 2 more scriptures and we'll be out of here, right? So the prophet Amos chapter 8, right? The prophet Amos chapter 8. These times and seasons that during the festivals we know, or the Moed or the Moedim, is when he's bringing us together to reveal his ultimate plan to us. And while everybody else is on a different cycle, you know, they're gonna be off into a whole bunch of other festivals in the days to come. Our focus should be on the feast. Amos 8, and I think I just really want to read verse 9, if I'm not mistaken. Should be 8, 9.
And it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahweh, that I will cause the sun to go down at noon, and I will darken the earth in the clear day.
So here he's using this, and you can read it in Joel, you can read it in so many other texts where it's this constant sun going out, moon not giving its light, sun going out. And I'm encouraging us to employ the text where it's also talking about people and government. Like people who rule over government, they're going to be put out of power, and the sons of light, or the children of us really, and those who are following these same patterns, we will be the new government. Didn't he say that you are, in one text he said, ye are a city sit on a hill? And then he said, let your light shine amongst men. What is that implying? Right? He calls us all types of stuff. He calls us his vineyard. He calls us his sheep. He calls us his, but he also employs this language like, we the stars, right? We the real superstars, if you would, as long as we're walking in this way. Last 2 texts we're going to look at, because I think when I talk to some people and I share to them, the sun, that disk in the sky is never going to fall, ever. And they look at me like, well, Peter said, or this text says, well, let's look at what Jeremiah said, because we should go to the more sure word of prophecy as a light that shineth in the darkness. Jeremiah chapter 31, we have one more verse after that, and then we will be closing up. Jeremiah chapter 31 and verse 35, if you would. Notice this, because you may read things in the New Testament when people say, even I just heard somebody recently tell me, see, there's going to be no need for the sun or star. I said, no, sir, go back and read Revelation 22, because that's what you're referring to. It says the city has no need for the sun or the stars. Talking about the New Jerusalem, because Yah and Yahshua is the light thereof. It does not say the world. You superimpose the world because you wanted to fit your narrative, or maybe you made a mistake. But notice what Jeremiah chapter 31 says. Jeremiah chapter 31, and let's look at verse 35.
Thus saith Yahweh, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night.
So we're clear that this is talking about that disk in the sky right here. He gave the sun by day for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and the stars for a light by night.
Which divideth the sea, and the waves thereof roar. Yahweh of hosts is his name.
All right, verse 36.
If those ordinances depart from before me,
Which ordinances? The sun does exactly what it's supposed to do, when it's supposed to do, and it don't take an extended trip and be like, you know what? I want to stay up till 2 in the morning. You don't see that. Not in most geographical locations. If it's some anomaly, that's not fitting here. If those ordinances, the sun, moon, and stars, depart from me,
saith Yahweh, then shall the seed of Israel also cease from being a nation before me forever.
If that disc fall out the sky, then the seed of Israel not going to be his people no more. That's what this text is saying. That's clear. So when people tell me, oh, we're not going to have no sun, sir, no. The prophet said otherwise. Then the seed of Israel not going to be a nation before me. Verse 37.
Thus saith Yahweh, if the heaven above can be measured, and the foundations of the earth searches out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, saith Yahweh.
Now, science tells you that they discovered 5% of what's in the ocean. You have whatever them things are in the ocean, electric eel that will electrocute you in water. And then you got some sea monsters down there that's, I mean, they this thin and all, they look like aluminum foil with eyes on both sides. Then you got something like a manatee. And then you have like a turtle that's probably, you have turtles that's bigger than 4 of these guitars put together. And he said, like, if y'all can search the depths of all that I created, then that's the equivalent of Israel ceasing before me be a nation. Y'all never gonna discover all that. Science will tell you we only discovered 5% of everything that's in the water. 5%. Now think of when you go to the aquarium, all that your eyes have been enlightened to, and like, oh, that's a modicum of what it actually is, right? Last text we'll look at is Jeremiah chapter 33 and verse 15. And this text is particularly to say that that disc in the sky is not going anywhere according to the prophets. Jeremiah chapter 33, and we'll start at verse 15.
In those days, at that time, will I cause the branch of righteousness to grow up into David, and he shall execute judgment and righteousness in the land.
Mm-hmm.
In those days shall Judah be saved, and Jerusalem shall dwell safely. And this is the name wherewith she shall be called, Yahweh our righteousness.
Okay.
For thus saith Yahweh, David shall never want a man to sit upon the throne of the house of Israel.
So David never gonna lack somebody who gonna be sitting on this throne. Verse 18.
Neither shall the priests, the Levites, any want a man before me to offer burnt offerings and to kindle meat offerings and to do sacrifices continue.
Mm-hmm.
And the word of Yahweh came unto Jeremiah, saying, Thus saith Yahweh, if ye can break my covenant of the day,
If you can break my covenant or the agreement that I made with the day and the better sheet, that disc gonna hang in the sky. That's a rule. And when he say his word goeth out, I'm under the impression that his word is never going to stop doing what he told it to do. That's what I'm under the impression of. So the day he say that sun gonna do what it's do, that's gonna last to 1,000 generations. And I think as of today, we probably only have seen maybe like 90 generations from creation. It might be more, but it has nowhere been near 1,000. So if you can break my covenant with the day, and what else?
and my covenant of the night, and that there should not be day and night in their season. Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Then may also my covenant be broken with David my servant, that he should not have a son to reign upon his throne, and the Levites the priests be my ministers.
So he made an agreement with David that is not fulfilled. He said, if you can break my covenant with the ordinances or the stars in heaven, etc., then you can also break my agreement with David. And we know that the Creator don't break his covenant or agreements.
Right.
So again, my original plan was to do the Bible book on parenting last Friday. I got here late, and I was like, I just stuck to the course of presenting this today. And again, the thought is that it's a feast season, so we do want to take times like this to understand and employ what is the biblical language telling us. And it's not all exclusively in the future, but the main point is that he's employing this language of the governments changing and falling. And there's a new government that is going to be ultimately instituted, and it is our role to be active in that government, because at some point, current, past, and future, we have to teach others to enroll into this government. So every year there'll be more people, whether coming to this festival or others, more people you should be able to identify as walking in this path. Let's say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
That is all I have. Any thoughts, questions, and concerns? We'll leave opportunity for thoughts, questions, and concerns, but that's all I have. So.
Hold on, how did that link up with the Lincoln and Kennedy though?
Good question. The striking coincidences of when those two things happen, and the striking coincidence is when the government fell in the scripture, and then the sun, moon, and stars went out. Right? That is too striking to notice that it's just a coincidence, or that's not talking about what I'm saying is talking about. Now again, people can go research it, but it seems very, very clear that when the sun falls out the sky, proverbially when the prophets is using that text, they're talking about the government. So that's what I do. Yeah, just correlating the two thoughts, but nothing directly.
Okay.
But you could also say two
I was-
stars fell out the sky.
I was looking for something direct.
No. I mean, you could also say
Abe
two.
Lincoln in
No.
Consider what they call it, conspiracy theory.
No.
Yeah.
You could also say two stars fell out the sky.
I believe all the conspiracy theories. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Any other thoughts or questions? Anybody? No thoughts, no questions? Let's say hallelujah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what's next, but oh, yeah, I think it's 502.
You halfway through the finish, bro. More than half, yeah. Like I said, I'm thankful to be here. I can say that much.
I want a little bit more.
Yeah.
You want more?
Yeah.
We got 66 votes.